New Brunswick has the proud distinction of being Canada's fastest shrinking province. Our population dropped by 941 during the first quarter of this year, the strongest decline since 1980. In the past 3 years, we've lost 3,500, thus the equivalent of the entire population of the town of Dalhousie, and it's double the decline of Canada's two other shrinking provinces. Stats Canada's Patrick Charbonneau says the most recent numbers are not only the biggest decline in the country, but the worst quarter the province has recorded in 35 years. It's also the 17th straight quarter in which New Brunswick has recorded a population decline. New Brunswick's economy has produced no job growth in 6 years, and Charbonneau says one of the largest drains on the province's population has come from people moving to other provinces in search of work. This decline further affects job growth. It also hampers population recovery as workers of childbearing years leave the province and raise their families elsewhere. Only 1,580 newborns were recorded in New Brunswick in the first quarter of 2015. That's the lowest number recorded since modern records began in 1946. Why is this happening? It's really very simple. New Brunswick is an unwelcoming place to live and work. If you were considering immigration or interprovincial settling, would you want to move to a province where 50,000 people do not have access to a family doctor? Where hospitals are overcrowded to the point that surgeries are being cancelled and patients are lying for days in hallways and kitchenettes because there's no bed available for them? Where your elderly or long-term care loved one might lie for months or even years in a hospital bed with minimal care and quality of life because we don't have the nursing homes or care homes available for them? Would you want to move to a province with a 66% illiteracy rate and where teachers are being cut and schools closed? Where your children could go tens of thousands of dollars into debt getting training or a post-secondary education only to find out that they're not employable because they don't speak a minority language? Would you want to move to where you may or may not get an ambulance when you need one? Because if there's no bilingual paramedic on board, the ambulance is out of service. Our paramedics are operating with a high absenteeism level, and that's due to low morale, job insecurity, overstress, overworked, unpleasant living conditions. Would you want to move to a province where the tax-paying citizens are being laid off and where businesses are closing down, while contracts are awarded outside of the province and workers from other provinces are brought in to do the work because they speak the minority language? Where someone's right to purchase alcohol, buy a cell phone, or even play a game of golf in their language of preference is considered more important than your right to be meaningfully and gainfully employed. According to Stats Canada, the current population of New Brunswick is 64.9% English, of which only 15.9% are bilingual. Of our 32% French population, 71.4% are considered bilingual, and they've gained this bilingualism from daily interactions with others, through work, through watching TV, playing video games, reading books. The total percent of population in New Brunswick that does not speak English is less than 13%. However, more and more every day you must speak French to be employed. And we're not talking about the more than 42% of government jobs in the province which demand bilingualism, regardless of the demographics of the region, such as Hampton, New Brunswick, a small community of less than 1% French population, where a complaint was recently filed over someone being unable to receive immediate in-person assistance in French at Services New Brunswick. We're also talking about the private sector, which is not accountable to the Official Languages Act, but which is trying to accommodate increasing demands and pressure from the minority population to provide service in the language of preference. Let's look at a few recent job postings, shall we? This one is for a delivery driver. It requires only a high school education, no certificates, no licenses, no memberships, less than 2 years experience. The required skills are lifting up to 20 pounds and loading and unloading goods. but you must be bilingual. I fail to see how bilingualism is going to play a significant role in these duties. How about this one? It doesn't even require the completion of high school. It requires no previous experience. It's part-time. It pays minimum wage. Your duties are to operate the cash, set up displays of merchandise, and provide advice about merchandise such as entertainment systems and electronics. It requires you to be bilingual as well. This position for a finance clerk for City Hall in St. John also requires bilingualism. The population of St. John is overwhelmingly English, with only a 4.3% French population. How much public interaction and how much interaction requiring French is this finance clerk expected to have? How about a general handyman? Must be able to lift 50 pounds, must sweep, mop, and wax, remove scraps and dirt, empty waste containers, wash windows and walls, clean and disinfect washrooms, troubleshoot and repair plumbing, electrical appliances, repair drywall, water plants, high school education, experience an asset but not required, no certificates, no licenses, but must be bilingual. Now Minister Kathy Rogers has publicly announced what amounts to blackmail on the private sector of New Brunswick. Because the private sector is not mandated to comply with the Official Languages Act, and despite Francophone associations pushing for it, they haven't managed yet to push it through. Therefore, Minister Rogers has announced that the government will look at stricter licensing requirements and more public-private sector partnerships around nursing home care. In this way, they can deny you a license to operate if you don't agree to comply with the Official Languages Act, despite the fact that you're a private sector business owner. The fact that only 33% of the population is bilingual is no deterrent to our government. Instead of focusing on the economy and on jobs for our majority population, they simply go overseas and hold job fairs to recruit Francophone immigrants, spending millions of dollars to do so, while the citizens suffer. This is why people are leaving New Brunswick, because over 65% of the population cannot get work. They cannot feed themselves or support their families. They can't survive here. This is why your children, your brothers, your sisters are leaving. It's why you might leave yourself. It's why New Brunswick is failing, and it's why if you want to preserve your home, you'd better wake up. Otherwise, it's time to start packing.